The whole idea is that in 10 minutes a day, you can really build strength and make a difference. I'm happy to announce that I'm putting together a course. Right now it's still in the pilot project, and so I'm actually recruiting people just like you who's watching this video. One of the 10-minute routines is called Stand Tall and Move Strong, and there's 4 exercises. One's the hip hinge to help improve our back mobility and strength. One is reverse flies to help us work on postural muscles in between the shoulder blades. Then we'll go into wall push-ups, which are going to help to improve upper body strength. Imagine trying to push a heavy cart or open up a heavy door. And the last exercise will focus on lower body strength, specifically ankle and foot strength, to make sure that we keep walking and be able to do some heel lifts and get our calf strongs. So you're ready to go through your first workout? Let's do it right now. See if you like it. The first exercise we're going to work on today is a way to get the calves stronger, and it's basically a double or a single leg heel lift. The muscle we're working is the calf muscle, also known as the gastrocnemius. What I want you to do is come to the wall, and at first what we'll do is we're going to stand on both legs first. Now you can have your hands for balance, but if you want to make it a bit more challenging, maybe just drop one hand. If you feel like that's a little shaky, go ahead and put both hands against the wall. Then what you'll do is you kind of come up onto your toes, you're going to pause, and then back down again. Go ahead and give me, if you can, 10 to 15 repetitions. If you can do a double heel lift and it's not too challenging, then to make it harder, what I want you to do is go to a single leg. Now, for a lot of people, the jump from double leg to single leg is a little bit too dramatic. So then what you can do is you can just toe touch the opposite leg, almost like a training wheel. Now, it's a lot easier for me to lift up on my left leg versus if I was holding my right leg up in the air entirely. But the idea is that you want to try to find out your entry point and start working on that exercise to help strengthen up the muscles of the calves. Those are really important because those are the muscles that are responsible that help us to kind of propel when we're walking, going up and down stairs, getting up out of the chair. So let's work on getting our calf muscles strong. This next exercise is called the hip hinge, and it is critical if you or anyone you know is having lower back pain. What happens, especially as the spine, as we start to age, 60 plus, I'm 57, so I'm getting right up there, guys. I have to be really careful with the way in which I move as well too. So if we do, and let's just look at this area here. So if I do a lot of repeated bending right through that middle part of my spine or even the lower part of the spine, I'm just showing you here because it's a little bit easier to see on my model. What happens over time is that these little facet joints, which are the joints in between each vertebrae, they start to wear out a little bit. And as they wear out, they become irritated and inflamed. And then as I constantly keep bending in that area, it's like I'm picking at the scab and it can irritate my back. But bending forward is a part of life. How do I go through life without bending forward? The key is to hinge at the hips and not so much the low back. I'll show you. You're gonna need a broom handle. This is just a PVC pipe, but you can use a golf club, you can use a broom handle, whatever you have, but you're gonna need a stick because it's gonna help us with our contact points, and I'll demonstrate to you. Now here's the key. If I bend incorrectly, I want you to notice that I lose the stick right away from my tailbone. And as it comes away from my tailbone, what this means is that I'm bending forward and putting all that stress on the low part of my back, which over time is just going to increase my levels of lower back pain. As I bend forward and I lose the contact point at the sacrum, that's telling me that I'm putting a lot of stress on my low back, and over time that has the potential to irritate my back. So the way in which we correct this is we have a slight bend in our knees, but then what I do is I drive my hips back. And now you'll notice the contact point stays the same. I don't lose the contact point at the sacrum or the back of my head. If I do this correctly, then what happens is I only feel a stretch in the back of my legs and the hamstring. Now what if you can't hold the stick or it just feels a little bit awkward? This is what you can do. Go ahead and put your hand to the small of your back. Now if you bend incorrectly, which means it's all coming from your low back, you'll notice your hand will sense that you start to round out the back, and it just doesn't feel very good. So the idea is to keep the hollow in your spine, slight bend in your knees, but remember, I'm not squatting, I'm just learning how to hinge at the hip right now. You're gonna pull your belly button in to engage your core, and then drive your hips back. And as you're doing that, this back hand on the low back is monitoring that curve in your back. making sure that you can still feel that little hollow. And if you do it correctly, when you get down to the bottom, all you feel is a hamstring stretch. Give that a try, see how it feels. Wall push-up is a great way to get some increased strength in your shoulders, your chest, your triceps. So what you'll do is you'll come to a wall. Now, if you can do regular push-ups on the ground, great, continue to do them. But for a lot of us, push-ups are difficult. So I want you to come to a wall and you're gonna put your hands about shoulder height. So my hands aren't up too high, they're about shoulder height. I'm stepping away from the wall. I'm gonna keep my scapula back and down. So what I mean by that is take your shoulder blades and pull them back and down. So rather than being in this posture, my shoulders are back and down. My hands are here, and I'm just gonna slowly come in towards the wall and push out. Now my elbows are not out here, they're in here. And I'm just gonna come back this way and back out. You wanna make sure that your back is nice and straight and that you're not leaning in towards the wall. Nice and straight, come down as far as you can, pause, and then push back up again. What you're doing is you're basically lowering yourself down to get closer to that real push-up kind of position. So you can come right through here. Once again, scapula in the back pocket, I'm engaging my core, and I'm just gonna come down, and I'm gonna push back up again. Down, pause, and push back up again. Push-up is a great exercise to get upper body strength. The last of our 4 exercises for the day is a reverse fly, and that's gonna help work on the muscles in between the shoulder blades. A lot of us, I'm sure this is not your posture, a bit slouchy through our posture. And when we hang out in this position for a long period of time, the muscles in between the shoulder blades get a little bit weaker. And so the idea is that we want to work on strengthening up those muscles. Now this is where a couple cans of soup come in. You can use a couple bottles of water, whatever you have, maybe even no soup when you're first starting. But the idea is 1 can of soup is about 1 pound, just so you know. What you'll do is you'll hip hinge first. So we're gonna kind of build off of that exercise. We wanna make sure that we're not rounded. So we're gonna hip hinge first. I'm gonna have the weights right here. My neck is neutral. And I'm gonna pull back until I can feel the muscles in between the shoulder blades doing the work, and then back down again. The idea is that if I do it up through here, I'm not gonna get the same amount of contraction that I want in between the shoulder blades. It's still a good exercise to do, and if for some reason it bothers your back, you can definitely do it this way, and then in your mind's eye, you're thinking about squeezing the muscles in between the shoulder blades. However, if I can hinge a little bit more at the hips, now I'm gonna get a greater response of the muscles in between the shoulder blade. And what I'm also doing is working on strengthening and endurance of my hips and my low back. When I'm done, it's gonna feel like it's a little bit easier to stand up taller because I've woken up and I'm working on strengthening the muscles in between the shoulder blades. If you have any questions about the program, please leave it down below. I'd love to have you join me and help me build this. My whole goal is to be able to help people 60 plus build real strength, improve their balance, regain their confidence, and stay independent for life. Thank you for watching. I'll see you at the next video.